economy and development. And it's how do we advocate for economic policies? Because I mean, when we speak about creating an enabling environment, we talk about policies that prioritizes youth employment, youth entrepreneurship, and economic participation of youth through this. And then we also look at intra-BRICS. We look at the BRICS trade balances now. They're sitting at nearly depressing statuses and so forth. And ours is how do we bring that out? So we now put together a research unit with a clear research agenda that moves into intra-BRICS research in terms of that. We're looking at youth entrepreneurship and around how do we create a platform for youth entrepreneurs to explore businesses in and engage in cross-border trade within the BRICS plus regions, education and skills development, and there we're looking at some educational programs which we do, like summer school and so forth. And what we want to do there is to lobby for quality education in all the BRICS plus member states, and it's a process. I mean, it's a huge ambition, but we hope that we'll be able to influence some policies in terms of education. We're looking at peace and security. We know that there is a lot of conflicts that are going around this time around. I mean, after the World War II, plus been thinking about World War III, which is something that we do not need. So, and as you are also aware, there is conflicts that are related to one of our member states, which is conflict between Russia and Ukraine. And ours is that how do we bring peace and security and stability into the global south? And lastly, we're looking at the research and development in terms of how do we, what are some of the research that needs to be done? And I'll give you an example. There's a notion around the BRICS currency, and everyone is talking about the BRICS currency as a commodity, which is not the case here. So the current thinking of this currency is about digital currency, which is looking at trade specifically. Although now,
So, hanno capito so.
Economies as well as linkage with financial systems and so on, it is going to be a difficult thing to achieve at this point. I'm not saying it's not possible, but at this point it's not going to be possible. So as a result, we're looking at research that goes into that, which is also includes BRICS Pay, which also includes the BRICS reserve currency that has been mentioned. And of course, we'll be looking at also the role of New Development Bank, the NDB, its differences to that of your traditional institutions such as the World IMF as well as the World Bank. And so that is us. We are building in terms of entrenched collaboration, diversity, innovation, global citizenship, sustainability, as well as leadership and inclusivity. And maybe moderator, I will pause there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iman, to share about the areas where BRICS are engaging and how the young people are going to have a huge role in these areas with the presentation of young people from the global south. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Leon, founder of Impacting Youth, he will be sharing some strategies and discuss about how we are going to practically engaging young people. Over to you.
Thank you, Nitish, and thank you to my fellow panelists for the insights that they have shared. I think we've already gained quite a bit of information so far on this specific topic. I think for my introduction, I would just like to share briefly why Impacting Youth was established and how it came about, and then something about our approach to youth engagement. So Impacting Youth was established out of the recognition of the need that there is a bridge that needs to be built, as many of our fellow panelists have noted, between young people as a demographic in society and the stakeholders that want to work with them. And so first of all, our organization was established with recognition that young people have a very key role to play in the future. We know that specifically in the global south, There is a youth dividend, specifically in Africa, there is a youth dividend that is on the rise. And as organizations within civil society, within the private sector, within government, we have to reflect very deeply on how we engage this younger generation. What are their values? What drives them? How do you reach them? What do they need? And this differs based on the age group, it differs based on the context, based on the country, and therefore we need organizations who can critically interrogate who are the youth and how do we reach them. So the second reason why the organization was established was specifically to do that, because there are many organizations out there who are doing fantastic work. Some of them are on this panel, who are having youth programs, youth projects, who are engaging the young people. But there are also a lot of stakeholder organizations that want to work with young people, but don't necessarily have the expertise or the knowledge to do that. And many of them either don't want to or can't afford internal expertise to, like youth engagement coordinators and so on. And so they begin to engage youth, but sometimes their projects are ill-designed, sometimes they're not very well thought through, sometimes they don't have the impact. And so for us to use the time that we have before the youth dividend is upon us, to equip these organizations to think more critically about how they engage young people, impacting youth falls at the intersection of that bridge, trying to assist them to make that transition to a pro-youth, a youth ally organization. And we do this with a specific strategy in mind. We know that many times organizations want to work with young people and they think, let's start a project, let's put money into it, and there we go. But from our experience, and I think many of the colleagues on the panel will agree, you can establish a project, you can include youth, but whether it's going to have impact or not is a completely different question. There are many metrics that you have to consider. There are many things you need to think about. Oftentimes people think of young people and the youth, so to speak, as a unified, monolithic demographic, where we know that the youth are a very diverse demographic. Youth in Africa, for example, is defined as everyone between the ages of 15 and 35. So how do you have the same strategy for engaging a 15-year-old as you do for engaging a 30-year-old young professional? Those strategies need to be completely different, and you need to think completely differently about the specific context of that young person. And then you have to think about where they are in the world. Are they in the global north? Are they in the global south? Which part of the global south are they? Are they in Africa? Are they in Latin America? Are they in Asia? What does that mean for how organizations engage with them, the spaces they move in? Where are they located? Are they located within the civic space? Are they private sector? Are they government sector? And all these considerations need to be taken into account. So within Impacting Youth, this is our motivation. This is why we were established, to help organizations reach the younger generation and have impact. And within that, there are 6 points that I think I want to highlight in my presentation that we like to help organizations reflect on. Because many times, as I've said, they think it's just about starting a project or a program. What we say is, no, let's take a step back. Let's think about what are the things that lead up to your program or project. And so we take them all the way back to their theory of change. Because within the civic space, those of us in the development sector, we understand the concept of theory of change. We've all written them, we've all had them, we've all reflected and workshopped on them. But in many other sectors, many organizations don't necessarily think they have a theory of change. Like, for example, an embassy. You ask an embassy, what is your theory of change? They will not necessarily be able to give you a very direct answer. And we encourage these kind of organizations to say, look, let's sit back. What is your theory of change? What is the impact you're having? What are you trying to achieve? And then to have a more targeted reflection on where do young people fit within that theory of change, because that's going to determine what kind of young people you want to reach and how you want to reach them. The second thing we help organizations reflect on is their policies, the policies that they're aligned with. If, for example, they work in the field of education, are the policies that their proposed program wants to achieve and wants to align with, are they actually pro-youth? Are they in alignment with a progressive view towards young people and what the young people need? Same in the sectors of gender, in the sectors of peace, in the sectors of governance. Is your organization actually at a more meta level aligning with the pro-youth approach to policy making and policy in society? The third element is strategy. How are you going to reach these young people? What are the steps, A, B, C, that you are going to use to reach them? What is your communication strategy? What is your messaging? How are you going to understand their needs? How are you going to reach them? The strategy is very important, and this is also something that organizations often reflect and spend a bit more time on. But your strategy, again, is underpinned by what are your policy priorities in the organization, and also what is your theory of change. So everything builds on everything else. Fourth, we help organizations to think about their structure. Oftentimes you speak to organizations and ask them, do you want to engage youth? And they say yes. And we say, well, in your organization, do you have a youth department? No. Do you have a youth coordinator? No. So who does your youth? No, it's the person in the research department. And despite all their best intent, we know that engaging youth requires a very specific skill set. It requires a very specific way of thinking that is very unique to that specific sector and that specific demographic. And so we help organizations think through what are the structures that we need to both establish, run, and administer effective youth projects that actually have impact. And then the fifth one is we focus on funding, fundraising. Where's your money go? Where's your resources go? Because we know you cannot have impact without resources. And again, here it's about return on investment. Is the way that you're spending your money as an organization actually giving you the return on investment in terms of thinking? Many organizations in the development sector, in the civil sector, for example, spend their money on charity. Now, fundraising is a very effective tool. It's a very effective tool for building common agendas. We also need to reflect on after the event, what happens next, what is the follow-up, what is the ongoing activity that takes place in between the event. Or do we just jump from conference to conference every year, putting money into this very large ladder? And so we try to help organizations think about how you spend resources, how can you spend resources in a more cost-effective way with more reach and more impact. Because sometimes we do very big things when a smaller thing would have had the same impact, and we can have had a much larger return on investment in terms of the impact that it has on the lives on the ground. And then finally, we get to projects and programs. So program design is the very last step in our process for helping organizations reach young people that we take them through. Because only then, after we've reflected on all the other things, can we really get to program design and design a program that has lasting impact. And so that is our methodology and how we approach our work with young people. And we're very happy to work with these great organizations that we have today, and also with future organizations represented in our audience.
Thank you, Rema. Thank you for sharing your strategies, how organizations can work better with young people. Now, I really like to invite all our participants to start with posing their questions if they have any. And we are switching from first presentations to panel discussions. And I request all of you, please introduce yourself. If you can share about your background, it would be better. And also, you can ask questions to any speaker or just specify which speakers you want